Hi, I'm Angela Franks. I'm a professor of theology for St. John's Seminary, and I primarily teach for lay students, the permanent diaconate, and those in consecrated religious life. I want to reflect today on the Gospel for Monday of Holy Week, which comes from the first part of John 12. And this is the account where Jesus is in the home of Mary and Martha in Bethany, and he gets his feet washed and dried and anointed by Mary. And when there's protest, Jesus responds, "Leave her alone, let her keep this for the day of my burial." And I think it's a good thing to reflect on in Lent, what we're storing up for the day of our burial, so to speak. During Lent, we learn how to die to ourselves, hopefully. That's part of what the Lenten penance does for us, is teaches us how to die for ourselves. And we can think of this, in a sense, as a preparation for that final death, when we can't take anything with us, when we come face to face with Christ in our judgment at the end of our life. And in a sense, our whole life is a preparation for that moment. It's a good thing to keep in mind during this year of St. Joseph, because St. Joseph has always been the patron of a good death. It was always been assumed by Christian tradition that Joseph's death happened when he was accompanied by Mary and Jesus at his deathbed. And so that's something that we can pray for, because that's certainly something that would be very comforting for us, to be aware of Mary and Jesus at our deathbed. I think we can also think a little bit about how we die to self every day, or how we could or should do this. The moment of our death is not the only time where we're called to die to ourselves, because Christian life is a death of the old man, the sinful person, and is an invitation to be reborn into new life by the grace of Jesus Christ. And of course, that's what we'll be celebrating at Easter. But every day is an opportunity to die to our self-will, to our selfishness, to be willing to look at ourselves more honestly and allow God to come into our lives more. An opportunity to let Jesus take the steering wheel of our lives instead of ourselves holding on to it tightly. I spent a little bit of time when I was a lot younger, in living with the Missionaries of Charity, working at their soup kitchen and homeless shelter in Harlem. And I remember asking one of the sisters, I said, so what's the toughest vow? Because like other consecrated religious, they take the vows of poverty, chastity, and obedience. And of course, in our age, we think chastity must be the hardest, right? And she said, without hesitation, she said obedience. Because obedience is where we die to our own will. And so obviously, religious sisters and brothers have that in a particular state of life where they have a superior, but we can live that out. If we're lay people, we can live that out as well in obedience to our spiritual director, if we have one, hopefully obedience to God's commandments, but also obedience to God's will in each particular situation in our lives. And that's a little death to ourselves that already in this life begins the resurrection of new life that we'll hopefully receive definitively if we remain in God's embrace within the church. Thank you for listening. I wish you a very blessed Lent, a very happy Easter, and you will be in my prayers. And please pray for me and for all of the seminarians and all of the lay students at St. John's Seminary, and perhaps I'll see you in a classroom sometime.